So welcome to SemCon's Promoting a Global Superstar panel. I'm Dargie and I'm joined with Dave Vernon and Eoin Smyth. And I'll let you lads give a quick introduction to yourselves and your work.
Go for Dave.
Right, yeah, my name's Dave Browning. I've been promoting and messing around with events in Ibiza since, believe it or not, 1996. I did my first event there at Pasha in 1996. Then got out of the business for a little bit and then came back and started doing Carl Cox at Space in 2000. And then did it right the way through to the closing, 2016.
And I'm Smyth here from Dublin. Been living and working in Ibiza since 2008. Started with Dave in 2008 on his journey through Carl Cox at Space. Went all the way to 2016. Then we created our event brand Game Over. And under Game Over, we run multiple different events across all the island's main clubs. And then we also have a marketing agency as well. So very heavy events and electronic music since the get-go.
Yes, love it. So obviously you both mentioned there the 15-year residency of Carl Cox at Space Ibiza. How did you both come to get involved with that and what were your roles?
Right, I'll a little potted history. Before I got involved in stuff in promoting events in Ibiza, I had record shops. Good friend of mine was CJ McIntosh. His girlfriend at the time was Lynn Cosgrave, who then years later became Carl Cox's manager. And that's they wanted to do some events in Ibiza. They heard I was out there, got a phone call, did I want to do it? That's it. It really was as simple as that. My initial reaction was, no, not really my thing. Yeah, it was, I was in Ibiza. We'd moved out to Ibiza just for a new life, and I got this phone call. Carl Cox, I don't know. So I went and met I heard this. They said, right, he's playing in this bar in Ibiza town, a small little bar. Went down there. There's about 50 people in there. Carl was playing. It was a bar that was owned by Pepe, who owned Space, and he was doing it at the end of the season or beginning of the season. I can't remember. Went and heard him play. Limiter on the sound system kept cutting off, 50 people in there sweating crazy, and he carried on playing. I thought, right, when I said, right, I can do that. Walked out of the place, said, yeah, I'll do it. And that's how it happened. I just thought, right, this is a superstar DJ in this little tiny place, 50 people, sound system's absolute shit. And he kept playing. That's something special. That's a little bit extra, rather than just saying, no, I'm not doing it. It was really, that was the moment.
And what about for you, Eoin? How did you become involved?
So I had finished school in 2015, and during school, the teachers will always ask, what do you want to do when you're older? And for me, it was just, I'm going to Ibiza. That was always in my head. Yeah. Had obviously followed the rave scene and like clubbing scene across the UK, Ireland, and Ibiza for years. And when I finally got the opportunity to go out, I went out on holiday in 2007 and met a lot of people there and could just see the craziness. I was like, this is a bit of me. Like I want this. So then quit the job, decided to go back the next year, 2008, went there and I actually started working with dance tripping. So dance tripping was like one of the original pioneers of live recordings. So they, before Be At TV and Boiler Room and all, these guys were going from like the late 90s, recording all different sets from DJs. So I had got in touch with them online and said, do you have any jobs? I'm coming over. Gave me a camera as soon as I arrived, went into the DJ booth and recorded. Shaky hand, going in there, recording Mandy and Book of Shade and, superstars for me as a 19-year-old. And then just a couple of weeks later, I had met a girl whose boyfriend was actually working with Dave. His name was Marlon Gordon. So he was like the PR manager. And me and my girlfriend at the time had said, well, I'm going for this. This is Carl Cox at Space. Like that party's nuts. So went down anyway, met Davey Boy Brown and then Savannah's in San Antonio. And there was another DJ called G Moore that because I had been going to Bora Bora, I was living in Playa d'Embossa. There was this G Moore was like, you could see him online. He was popular at the time. And I remember saying to Dave, "You're G Moore, aren't you?" Which he didn't like at all. And you know, my ex-girlfriend, very good-looking girl, and I don't think they hired me. They hired her, and I was just a follow-on. I obviously didn't manage to sell, but
Yeah, you were just a bonus at the
I was
time.
just a bonus. And then I remember coming back and saying, "Listen, lads, I'm here to graft." And lo and behold, we got the job. And the following year, I think, Dave, you had said, do you want to do something else in terms of like grow into the PR manager role as well? Because we had another event going on in space called Come Together, and it just kind of went onwards and onwards from there. We'd come back every year, stay in contact with Dave throughout the winter and then it just literally became a Goliath event until the end. So, and we're still here now. I'm working with Dave 14 years this year.
14.
14 years, yeah, mad.
So we'll take from that.
Yeah, when you put it like that, that is a bit mad.
Consistency or persistence is key.
Yeah, consistency is key. You have to be mad to work in this.
Definitely. So I'm right in thinking, so Dave, you were kind of you were head promoter, if that's correct, yeah? You're on the promoting side. And Eoin, you were...
We're talking about Carl?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, really, I did top to bottom everything. So, yeah, everything that went on with that event, from, you know, liaising with space every day, making sure everything ran from the production to the everything, right, from start to finish. So, yeah, I was there from when the club opened to when the club closed every single week.
He set the foundations, and then we went and executed it.
Yeah, you know, I would stay in because I was living on the mainland at the time, so I'd come over for 4 or 5 months, whatever it took. Stay in Pepe Rosillo. He had a villa in San Antonio, so we would stay there, and then all the DJs would come and stay there, which made it into a real sort of family atmosphere. Carl would stay, and it was really cool. So we you know, that I think that was part of the reason that it became so successful, is it became like a real family. Everyone, you know, worked together for the benefit of the event. It was really good.
The DJs going and staying in that villa really nurtured the family vibe. So like everyone would be offered, if you're coming over to play, do you want to stay in the villa? And most people would say yes. And then getting up and eating breakfast in the morning and eating dinner, going through music together, getting the lifts to the club, the hype would be building up from the time everyone landed. You can just feel the place starting to rumble, and then the event kicks off. So it was crazy times.
So would you...
Sorry, no, but I was at the very beginning. It was, you know, I was talking to someone about it a couple of days ago. You know, it was relatively small. I remember, you know, the perception, but by the end, it was so huge, and it had such momentum that people forget that at the beginning we really had to grind it out. The idea, you know, I remember we were sitting with Pepe and Fritz at the time, who was the manager of the club, and saying that we wanted to do it on a Tuesday, because the first year it was on a Thursday, but then it was against Cream and some of the real big hitters. And said, right, we want to do it on a Tuesday. And they said, Tuesday, nothing ever works on a Tuesday. Historically in Ibiza, nothing's ever worked on a Tuesday. And so we started off, and slowly went from 2,000, 3,000. When we hit 3,000 people, we thought, shit, we've absolutely cracked it. And then by the end, it was nuts, completely nuts. You know, it was full every week. And full was a lot of people.
So what did your kind of pre-event prep, what was your typical Tuesday like for you both?
The street, yeah. When just back to the very beginning, if you know, once you start promoting events in Ibiza, it's quite a complicated territory, because there's events every day. You know, all 6 or 7 competitor events every day, and the day before, and the day after. So it's very, very competitive. But also it's quite a complicated way. The ticket sellers, the massaging everyone's egos, making sure everyone was on your side. And so I spent a lot of time at the beginning going to meet everyone, talking to the ticket sellers, doing things that they're really not used to doing. If I said I was there on a Tuesday, I was there on a Tuesday every day. If I was there, and those kind of things, we built up a really good reputation of being reliable and being straight up guys, and that really helped us at the beginning. And slowly they started to see the benefit, because they were selling more tickets, and all our competitors started to see, right, shit, these guys are serious, and after 3-4 years, we really started. Once the ball started rolling, as soon as you start being the number one event on that day, people start to go because it's the number one event, and then it really starts to snowball. And it's by after 5 or 6 years, it was completely out of control. In control in the club, obviously, but its momentum really started to build up momentum of its own. But on a typical Tuesday, get up in the morning. I would always like to be there 10 o'clock in the morning at the club. So get up, have some breakfast before anyone else was up. Go to the club. Walk because we had an office in the club, so we go to the office. Start making sure everything was on time. We would organise the drivers for the pickups, the flights coming in, everything. So we had, there's a little team because there was an office in London with Safe House was the office in London, Car's management team. So they would normally book the flights, tell us what DJs, what time the flights were coming in. We would organise all the pickups, the sound checks, all that sort of stuff during the day. Make sure all the production was done, everything was where it should be. So it got to the stage where you just walk around the club and know, right, that should be there, that should be there.
At a certain time as well. Dave's attention to detail at the start really set the tone for what was to come. So even in the days before social media, we didn't need to look after that part. It was very much focused on the online or the physical promo. So they would go up and down the streets of Plaid and Boss and whatever and notice on the corner of his eye, well, there should be a poster there. There should be a poster there. We're missing a billboard. We're missing something off the lamppost. Do these guys have their tickets for tonight? They haven't paid yet.
I was completely obsessed at the very beginning, totally obsessed with making sure all those things were right. And I think it's that in the end, it all paid dividends because DJs played out of their skin when they came. The people, as to say, from a promoter's perspective, what you want from me, you want people to come in, spend every cent they've got, go out with their pockets empty, but with a big smile on their face, saying, "Yeah, that was worth it." That was the job.
Yeah,
and
we will do it again.
9 times out of 10, that's exactly what happened. We have very, very few people walk out and say, "I didn't like it." In fact, I don't think I've ever seen anyone walk out and say I didn't like it.
No, that sounds like you definitely kind of nailed it. And kind of what I'm picking up from you is both with customers and with even like people within kind of your circles industry wise, is that nurturing that relationship is so important. Would you say that's kind of what has maybe gave that longevity? Like you said there, you had your DJs, everyone in the same villa, really building up that kind of community spirit. Do you think that kind of contributed to why you guys managed to keep this going for 15 years?
Yeah, 100% for sure. Yeah, people who went to the event loved the event. Whether we always tried to evolve the production. We changed every year and tried to evolve as newer technology came in. Lineups wise, we were always quite eclectic with the lineups, and and Carl obviously was Carl.
Yeah.
Smashed it out the park every single week.
As well.
It was a pleasure and an honor to have worked with him over that time because he absolutely 100% never let you down.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, and that's quite difficult to when. Over that length of time, from the first show to the last show, smashed out the park every time.
When you're managing, or not managing, but when you're working with someone like Carl Cox, who has this incredible kind of global sort of fame, what extra things do you have to consider as an events team? Is there more kind of to it when you're dealing with someone who has that massive status?
But during that status grew to a certain extent with the event. At the very beginning, obviously he was a well-known DJ and within a small circle, very famous. But his fame, his status in the industry grew and grew and grew as the event grew and grew. Mm-hmm. So we sort of evolved together. And it really was like a family situation. When you sit up and have coffee with someone, they're sitting there in their underpants, then it's It's not like, oh right, shit, this is a global superstar, or it just wasn't. It wasn't like that.
But
And
then when you would then be out in public and then see, wow, the reaction that people have when they see Carl, like as a godlike figure, it's insane.
It's really very, very strange, because my youngest daughter, who grew up with Carl, she's 14 now, but when she would go out with us and see the reaction to him, it's quite strange, because people do go crazy, like they run over and want to touch him. When you don't see it like that, when you just see the regular light. But that's he is. He's a global superstar. There's very, very few places that he goes that he's not recognised. And part of that is that his persona is so approachable, and he's got that. He has got a genuinely likable persona, so people do feel as though they can approach him without being told to leave.
Yeah, comes across as very humble and obviously like immensely passionate about what he does. So I guess we're looking over those years, obviously a lot of things would kind of change, be it Ibiza's market or just kind of the industry in general. What are kind of some of the challenges you faced running that party as it grew and as things changed around you? Does anything stand out?
I think the biggest challenge obviously is because it is so competitive. If you said to anyone who's going to start promoting an event that there's going to be 7 events similar within 10 kilometers of yours, and 7 or 8 or 10 events the day before and the same the day after, and we're all eating from the same pot, this is the amount of tourists on the island. So I used to say, right, as long as we're getting our percentage, if there's 10,000 people want to go out that night, as long as we're getting our percentage of that, that's all we can do. We don't expect to get 100%, but if we get 60, 70%, that's absolutely the maximum we can do. So we had to enable us to do that. We had to provide the best possible event we could, because it is so competitive.
And there wasn't even as many places, say 2010, 2015, as there even was in the past couple of years before COVID. So every bar, beach club, day club, hotel, etc., now runs parties. So in space days, you'd have, when people would come, or like the workers over here, they wouldn't even talk about the days of the week as Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You would call Monday, oh well, it's Cocoon. Tuesdays is Carl Cox. Wednesdays is this. Thursdays is that. And you're then also competing against parties which are in your own club. So even at space, Tuesdays was the number 1, but We Love on Sundays was very strong. Enta were strong when they came in, and the competition just is insane. And then when you have,
that's just made me think, because we were, at the time, We Love was the monster. So Sundays at Space, that was the one, and they were running day and night. Everyone else was running in the morning, and we were the first event that came along and said, right, we're just going to run at night. So that was breaking the whole, because Space was known as an after hours club apart from Sundays. So that was breaking the mold a little bit. And when we finished, before we even finished, another room in the club was already open. So we would be running, it's still running in the main room. This was at the beginning, or no, they were just about to open. So they'd be cleaning the sunset terrace, the outside terrace, while we were still running in the main room. It was completely nuts. Yeah, and then it would go round and round, and people would come out of ours, and then there'd be 500-600 people go straight out and queue to go straight back in for In Bed with Space, it was called at the time. It was bonkers. And I remember having this discussion about Cocoon, because at the time Cocoon was a direct competitor, but they were much bigger than us, much longer history. And I had this discussion with Lynn, Carl's manager. It's, they why are we not like Cocoon? And Cocoon was fucking cool. They built up this really cool image, and I said, we're not fucking cool. And in the end, we're not cool. We throw great events. That's why I don't want to be cool. I want to throw great events, because one day you may be cool today, but tomorrow you're not going to be cool, and then you're over. So we just throw great events, keep throwing great events, and develop what by the end, I don't want to be cool, but in the end, we were fucking cool.
Effortlessly cool.
No, it's, you know, there's you know, like Musicon and those kind of, they have a different type of approach. You know, it's just different, and amazing. What those guys do is fantastic. What Cocoon did, amazing. We aspired to be like Cocoon because they built up there for a long time. They were the go-to event, but we had, you know, we had a slightly different approach. But plus we had Carl.
Yeah.
No, that's Carl, as he got bigger and bigger. We became the go-to event. If it's quite often we would be the only event people would go to during their holiday because it was
a little bit more accessible as well because we had multiple rooms. We had 6 rooms of music. Obviously, there's Carl Cox and techno in the discoteca. The terrace was normally used for like more so housey acts, and then we'd have the Sunset Terrace for something chill out. We'd have maybe the rooftop for like smaller brands as a platform, like even Mikey and the guys from SAEMC.
Yeah, they did El Salon.
They came to El Salon. You know, this is where we met. We gave them a platform. Amazing friends for life.
Gave them a platform and a lot of drink. If I remember.
Yeah, a lot of drink.
Yeah.
But there was also different styles of music. So Carl's party was super accessible. You'd have drum and bass, house. You know, trance artists were playing probably in the early days, and that's why.
No, I draw the line at that.
Not trance.
Yeah, I draw the
progressive.
line. Progressive. There was a conscious effort to make to be a little bit eclectic, and because there were a lot of people doing just techno, right? That is so okay. Right, let's look at, you know, Lynn, Carl's manager at the time. She was really smart, amazing at looking at different artists, different more eclectic sounds. Sometimes it worked, and so, to be honest, sometimes it didn't. Or you put someone in there who wasn't used to playing in a room of that size because the music didn't necessarily suit. Or sometimes you'd have, I remember Andy C and I think it was Marco Bailey coming on after Andy C, which was musically potentially a fucking road crash, but in the end it worked. It's really a strange thing that those two scenes are so a long way apart, but it actually worked. And because Andy C's guys, his crew in the end stayed for Marco Bailey. So, and that was a room for 2,000 people that actually worked with that huge change musically.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you've got to take a little bit of a risk now and again when you're doing these things.
Most definitely.
Again, sorry?
Sounds like you've got to take a little bit of a risk sometimes.
Yeah,
a gamble on something, yeah. So what kind of, as like individuals, kind of, we've touched on it, like you'd have to be mad to go into these types of jobs, the electronic music and a whole. What are the qualities you need? What are the human qualities you need to successfully be able to work on these projects?
I always say you need to have a neck like a jockey's bollocks. Just the tenacity, just to keep going, because this is a roller coaster ride. You know, absolute roller coaster ride, especially now in today's terms with what's going on around us. But if you want to throw in the towel, it's quite easy to throw in the towel. It's much easier for us to go, let's just go to London, work in the bank, go get something super solid and go for it. But we love it. And you need to have that spark, you know, like there's been times over the past year, I think we've done a couple of talks, and there's been time over the past year where I'm sure we've both gone, what the hell are we doing? Like, what the hell? But then when you do those few good events and you're there in the middle of it and you go, that's why we do it. That's exactly why we do it. There's, you know, 1,000 people, 2,000 people, 10,000 people absolutely raving their socks off, and they might come up to you at the end of the event and go, geez, that was the best night of my life. That's what makes it worthwhile. You know, so to kind of keep going on that front. Dave's going a lot longer than I am. Let's see what I'm making.
A lot longer, yeah. You know, if you come into this business because you want to make a lot of money, you're in the wrong business. There's the potential, of course, you know, you get it right, but there's also a potential to lose a lot of money. But you have to have a slightly obsessional nature. So, right, okay, I'm going to get up every morning and I'm going to throw 100% into what we're doing. And it's no good waking up and go, fuck it, I can't be bothered today. It really isn't like that. Every day there's got to be something, and Eoin will come up and say, I've got a great idea. Fuck. Go sit down and go, shit, that is a great idea. And then round and round it goes. That's and that's what keeps it interesting. There's we've got to be, say that there's big, huge corporate business in this world. There's, the big corporates have seen once people start talking about this industry generating, I don't like to call it an industry, but anyway, but the generating billions, then corporate businesses look at this. But this is a very personal and ethereal kind of business. A lot of this, the success of this business is because of the love and passion, and as Owen's quite, we've got one foot on the dance floor. So if you don't really understand what moves those people on the dance floor, then this is a very complicated business. Now I'm as happy standing in front of the speaker at Brett or somewhere like that, going, fucking hell, this is amazing. Who's playing? But the music, the sound system, all that there is more important quite often, certainly to me, than who's actually playing. The fact that we've maybe sometimes lost focus on the main reason that we go out, and it's not necessarily to go and see them. DJs fantastic, some of them amazing, but in the end, the main thing is the music, the sound system, and the people you're with. It should be.
The experience. Are there any? Sorry, carry on.
No, go on.
I was going to say, you're talking about that kind of like euphoria feeling, like on a dance floor, and kind of what it means to be out clubbing. Do you guys have any kind of moments in your head that you think of that through the Space days? I'm assuming that the closing must have been quite like a emotive time for you both.
Yeah.
Yeah, he dragged me out into the middle, because in the middle of the dance floor Space, they had a big ice cannon that came straight down in the middle of the dance floor. Because I never, any of the events that I did, I never went to the dance floor ever. And
every event,
I'd walked through when we opened. But was it actually Space closing or Carl Cox?
No, it was the Carl Cox closing. So like we obviously had a huge team of PRs and poster guys and dancers and everything else. And they're all every week religiously at the same spot under the ice cannon, just like the biggest ravers in the club. They love it. And for me, we're obviously running around. We have the earpiece on, and I'd always go just a couple of times, just through the dance floor, make sure everyone's all right, see how they're enjoying it, because they'd give you the feedback on the event saying, "Oh, this is too low," or "The music's too low," or whatever.
Bear in mind that this is packed. We're talking
mental. Ice cannons going off everywhere, like people just full power. And I just grabbed Mr. Davy Boy Brown and I said, "Come on, you come with me." And stuck him in, and that was like for the whole time I was there. Have never seen him on the dance floor, just so you could experience the ice cannon. Nearly blew his wig off. He used to have hair before then. that was incredible. But there's so many mad moments in the club, like crazy moments of people just being a little bit wayward way. And in the terrace, there used to be the back of the terrace, the wall was made of like brick. So like the front of Space, there was like old
stones, real old Ibithenko stones.
So you'd have people coming in, and they've obviously been out all day long. And some lad asks, "Where's my? Can you point me in the direction of the ATM?" You just point him at the wall, and he's trying to stick his card into the bricks of the ATM.
That's a new.
Yeah, and then there's just so many famous faces that walk through as well that were just on the dance floor. They weren't running around the VIP or whatever. You just look to the left and you see a celeb or a musician that's just there having it off on the dance floor with everyone else. Dr. Dre rocking through the club at Carl Cox that time, Davey Boy, remember that?
Yeah.
Sven Var jumping into the crowd. The crazy moments that stand out for me were just when the club was just rocking, and that people crowd surfing, just mad.
Yeah, no, for me, as Owen said earlier, that to stand in the booth and say, "Yeah, we made that happen," and because sometimes it was so good, the atmosphere was so electric, and it's a proud moment for anyone who's been involved in the organisation of that, for whether you're handing out flyers, sticking up posters, whatever you're doing in that operation, to say, yeah, actually, we were part of that. Yeah. And all those people with massive smiles on their faces, it's a nice moment.
And the team that we had as well, like, you know, we'd get the Coxie t-shirts done, and they'd say crew on the back, and they wore them with pride, because when they were walking through Ibiza town, playing in Boston, San Antonio, whatever, people would be jumping at them, asking for guest list or for tickets or for t-shirts or for fans or for whatever kind of merchandise we had. It was hot property, because you could be like, businesses would know when Carl Cox was coming, because we started quite late in the summer. We'd start, like, say, first week in July normally, and then
because we started off at doing 8 weeks, then went up to 9, 10, 11, 12, and then ended up with 15 weeks at the end.
But the businesses in the area would, you know, they'd be waiting for Tuesdays to come, because they know that Played and Boss is going to be packed, and when Played and Boss is packed, their bars are packed. So people are out from 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock on the beaches. Then they go over, and it was amazing just to see the rumble of the area, and a shame to not see that so much anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you were to start where you started back in, was it 2001 things kicked off?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you were to bring that and start again now in 2021 or 2022 with the pandemic, do you think this event would still have the same longevity and the same momentum if you were to start it now?
That's a very, very difficult question. You know, we were talking about it a couple of days ago, that the perception is that the reasons people are going clubbing seems to be a little bit different. I may be completely wrong, but that in 10 years ago, there was a reason people wanted to go out, and it certainly wasn't to stand there and take an Instagram picture. If that has become absolutely the norm, then the reasons people go out are completely different. You know, we're certainly, for me, I used to want to go out when I started going out. No, not when I started going out, but when 20 years after I started going out. But the main thing, you wanted to just get lost in the music. You know, go there and be completely consumed by the music. You certainly didn't want to stand there taking pictures to remember that moment that you've forgotten because you were taking a picture. Which is what, you know, it really got to the stage by the at the end of the 15 years with Carl, that when he would come on, it would be an absolute sea of cameras taking videos. And I know it pissed all of us off. You know, he's there, the big moment, and then he would drop the first track. The place would erupt, and cameras going everywhere. These people taking that video have missed that moment because they're trying to take a video that was crap anyway, because the camera went all over the place. And I don't know what people that film is going to be better for them than the memory in their head. Or is it more important that they share that moment to their friends to say, I was there? It's where that goes in the future.
Yeah, the focus and attention that you would need to put on content, like that's the main thing for an event now. You know, if no one sees it online, is the event even happened? Is it even worthwhile going to? Because you can't get an Instagram moment on it. Where before, let's say for me, when I was looking to go to Ibiza, the only media that I consumed was like Mixmag and DJ Mag. There was no videos until YouTube started to come out, and even then, there was just like a couple of people with it. Now, as a promoter, depending on what kind of event you have, like we're underground promoters at the moment for like some of our other events, and we can't even promote what we're doing right now. Some of it we can't because we can only have a limited amount of people. So we can see right now there's no phones. People aren't taking pictures at this venue because we can't. It's not allowed. We put stickers on their phone. But the hype starting now because people are out waiting outside. They can't get in, but they want to know what's going on. But they've not even seen what's going on inside. So it's like smoke and mirrors, like the Empire.
It's really quite interesting because we tried it at DC10 when for one night stand at DC10, where we said, right, we're going to make a conscious effort to put stickers on people's phones, stop them taking pictures. No pictures on the dance floor, it kills the vibe, all that sort of stuff. and we actually got a team of referees going around trying blowing whistles and giving people red cards for taking pictures, and it kind of works, but the desire to take pictures is now so strong that people just do it in the middle of the dance floor,
and especially for Carl, you know, if you're going to see Carl, you want to take a picture of Carl Cox. It's a big moment. And
yeah, I get it, but what for? When you're there watching it, seeing it actually happen, unfold before your eyes. But it's I can't. 99.9% of those pictures that people take, they never look back on. I saw it yesterday when we were with Pablo, and he said he's got. Was it Pablo said he's got 36,000? Oh no, Gregor, 36,000 pictures.
Yeah, sitting there.
36,000 pictures. What are you talking about? This is absolutely nuts. Taking the pictures now. I hope, but the perception is that that's superseding the music.
Yeah. Well, taking an example of an event though that has built up and has consistency and grown from scratch really in recent times, like Elro. But Elro's concept and brand is all about, you know, the show and taking pictures of the show and seeing that, and that's also grown the hype of the event brand as well. So of course everything is possible, but for what we are good at, we're really good at on the ground promo, like PR teams, hand to hand, like that. And that now is changing over here because people are becoming less and less connected. So, you know, it's a bit weird when someone goes over and tries to speak to you, say, oh, you want to come to this place tonight? People are a bit standoffish. So they want to consume on social media and on their phones and whatever. So it's definitely changing.
But this is a very, very, in my opinion, from a promoter's perspective, it's very, very dangerous. The more we go along down that road, because then letting people make up their mind purely based on an image, a video, is very, very difficult, because those with the deepest pockets, those with the best marketing team will win whether their event is best or not. And that's, for the minnows in the industry like us, we're small operation who can duck and dive and do all little bits and pieces to survive. But we can't compete with the big money guys. Mm-hmm. And as the corporates come in here and they push prices completely out of the reach of the smaller guys, we have to do more and more creative things. So from our perspective, that's beneficial because we can be more creative. But financially, to stay in the business, it's very complicated.
And so with like Game Over and obviously the parties that you run underneath, I got Wild Child, One Night Stand, you mentioned there. How are you feeling for next season coming up? Are you feeling positive potentially to get back to kind of larger scale events?
Positive. We have to remain positive. Looking at the UK getting back to normality and hoping that stays. The US is back to normality. For us, Ibiza is still a precarious place because there's nothing. The clubs haven't had a look in whatsoever. So, yeah, we're remaining positive, just with a slight reservation. Like
for me, if this is a mindset from the government, they're taking it because we had a test event here. Have you? I don't even know what the results were. That was 3 weeks ago.
A month ago, yeah.
So they did. That data from test events is available. That test event, in my opinion, was a red herring just to say we're doing something. But if the consensus is that clubs are not as beneficial as they once were to Ibiza, then it's going to be difficult. It would be detrimental, in my opinion, to the island completely if that's what happened. So also the huge investment for privileges now been taken over. Obviously the guys who took over Pasha, the huge investment there. Amnesia still grinding it out and working hard. DC10, they're poised to open it as soon as they can. As soon as they get a green light, they'll be open. But let's see.
Take it as it comes. That's all you can do sometimes.
yeah. Once
it's open, we'll be there. We've been planning and planning for months and months. So like Dave said, we're minnows, but we're nimble enough to like do things quite quickly. Just put it straight.
Yeah, we're still grinding it out. You know, there's not many promoters who are grinding it out like we are. You know, for the love of music, we're still doing it.
Right. It'll take more than a pandemic to not do your boys out.
Oh, that's nice. It's never game over.
Oh, nice. I like it. So just to tie things up, what advice would you give to somebody who's perhaps thinking of getting involved in promoting their own events or maybe looking for a career down that route?
David,
I see a doctor. No, you've got to be single-minded. You know, you obviously a lot of people get into promoting because they love going out. You need to be analytical a little bit and say, right, okay, what do I want to do? This I like this style of music. I've got this group of friends. I can build up from there, and that's for me, that's the ideal way to do it. Build up, do something you absolutely love with the DJs you love, and slowly build up. And don't get into it because you want to make loads of money.
Oh. Good advice.
Couldn't put it better myself.
Oh. Well, thank you so much, guys, for giving us your time today. I feel like you have given so much insight and a lot of valuable information and tips and kind of advice on stuff. And it's been really interesting to just get a bit more of the kind of background, like you said, of that crazy 15-year residency. So thank you so much. And I'm sure the guys will be well buzzing when they watch this back.
Cool. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Thanks very much.
All right.
Catch up soon.
Bye.
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 Bye.